Hey guys, and welcome to Ozzie Reviews, and welcome to February Q&A. Now this series is only available for you guys who help me out on Patreon, or if you are a donator via PayPal. Now guys, I've simply had to do this because the amount of questions that I get daily is just increasing naturally as the videos get more popular. But I'm sorry, I just simply can't get to every single question, so I've had to narrow it down to people who support me on Patreon or obviously PayPal. So anyhow, we'll start off this month with telling you about some new things that are happening here at Ozzie Reviews, because I know a lot of you guys, may only follow me on YouTube and not actually on Facebook. Now, I've got a whole new camera system, okay? So hopefully the quality of the video should go up quite substantially, and also the audio. I've got a full audio system, complete, tripod, camera, the whole bit. And it also takes a lot of high-speed video, and I've been playing with that, which you would have seen over this last month because I put a few videos out with high-speed footage. So I'm very, very happy with the setup. It's really good. And look, I can only do it because you guys who help me out on Patreon have been kind enough to donate to help me keep going. I'm not sponsored by any companies. I'm sponsored by you guys, the viewers, and that's what makes Ozzie Reviews very unique. So thank you to all you guys who do help out. So let's get into this month's questions. Okay, so the first question I got here is from Gary, and he says, "Hey Ozzie, thanks for all your great content. I'm looking at getting into lever action, cowboy action, rifle type shooting. Mostly match type stuff, but possibly a bit of field use in the future. What is a good caliber that is commonly available and affordable, and what would its limits be regarding taking out game in the field?" Well mate, what stands out to me is a 357 Magnum, and why I say that is because you've just got the added benefit of dropping back to 38 special loads. Now 38 special factory ammunition is pretty cheap to get, as far as a centerfire pistol goes. Now $20 for about a pack of 50 is what you'll pay. That's pretty affordable, when you're looking at those centerfire pistol calibers. Then obviously if you want to go out into the field, well then you can step it up and obviously get some decent 357 Magnum, hunting rounds. And coming out of a rifle, you'll certainly have a lot more velocity than if you were shooting it from a handgun. Now, for hunting distances, I always like to, as I often do, talk about between 75 and 125 yards as an average hunting shot. Now 357 Magnum with a decent hunting round and obviously correct shot placement, you'll be able to take down deer, you'll be able to shoot pigs with it. It's going to be a very potent round, for hunting at that distance. So that would be my choice there, mate. Have a look at obviously the Marlins. And also Henry, they make a lever action rifle as well. And I do like the smoothness of the action on the Henry rifles. So yeah, have a look at those too, and I'm pretty sure you'll be happy with that caliber. So next question I got here is from Aaron. He says, with the Queensland State Forest hunting petition coming to an end, with hopefully close to 17,000 votes, how do you think this is going to play out? I've had meetings with my local member, and I think I have him seeing the positive side of things. Fingers crossed it gets across. Well, I think it's going to succeed, and why I'm pretty confident in that is because, one, the amount of money that it generates for the state, not only the government, because obviously they'll license it, so they'll be able to, get revenue for it, but it's also the amount of money that it puts into the economy, and especially in these smaller towns, you're injecting a lot of money with people coming in, obviously buying ammunition, camping supplies, stopping off at the local fuel stations, refueling. Obviously people have to eat as well, so they stop there for a bite to eat. This is all money that is injected into the local economy, and also it creates jobs as well. So there's a lot of positives. And why I'm pretty confident in this is because the other states, New South Wales and Victoria, are already doing it. And I mean, the biggest nanny state in Australia, in my view, is New South Wales. So if they can do it, I'm pretty sure here in Queensland we'll be able to get it, across the line. So we'll just have to wait and see. Next question I got here is from Lee, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, have you shot Wilson Combat handguns, and if so, are they worth the money?" Well mate, no, I've never owned a full Wilson Combat handgun myself. However, I've had 1911s where I've used Wilson Combat parts that I've bought, and obviously installed in the handgun. So they've been really good. I can't fault any of them whatsoever. They've been really, really reliable. As for the finish on them, look, they're very tight tolerances. They're finished very nicely. So at the end of the day, mate, you really have to just pick one up, you know, work the slide, dry fire it, see what you really think of it. Does it feel really nice and comfortable in your hand? That'd be the only advice I can give you. You're putting a lot of money on the table if you do buy one. So obviously look at that, but then look at, you know, some of the other brands and see what you think as well. But mate, I've never really heard anything bad about Wilson Combat, that's for sure, because, you know, they do pride themselves on making very robust but very high-end quality firearms in general. Now the next question I got here is from David, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, hunting clothing. Have you used any Merino products produced by hunting garment manufacturers? It has really taken off and seems reasonably priced for wool, and I'd like to support wool growers." Well mate, in short, support them by all means. You know, if you want to support them and you have a need for the garments, by all means go ahead and buy them. As for me, no, I don't use a lot of you know, woolen products. I guess, you know, it gets pretty cold where I am, you know, like we get well and truly into the negative temperatures during the winter, but I find a lot of the clothing that I have is suitable enough for that. But definitely if you're on a long hike or something and in those really cold areas, then I could see a big benefit to it. But yeah, mate, at the end of the day, by all means, support them. Okay, so the next question I got here is from Andrew, and he says, "Hi Oz, I bought an Olight based on your previous review, and I was wondering if it is normal for this thing to generate bucket loads of heat after only about 15 seconds of being on." Which model, mate? You know, I've reviewed a few of their products now, and I really like the Olight products. Yes, they generate heat because you've got to look at the amount of lumens these things are pumping out. It's just pure physics. It can't possibly generate that amount of lumens without also generating heat. You know, that's just physics. So the one good thing about the Olight torches is that they do have a built-in feature. Should they get too hot, then they drop the lumens down, you know, to suit the environment. Okay, so yeah, I found that they generate a fair bit of heat towards obviously the end where the light's coming out, but the handle and everything else like that is more than comfortable to use. But yeah, let me know which model, mate. I'd be keen to follow up on that. Now you've got one more question here too. What is the go with Marlin, and are they officially past their Remington control quality issues? They don't seem to make the 39A anymore, maybe because they forgot how. Well mate, I used to own a Marlin 39A, and for those people who don't understand what that is, it's a lever action 22 rifle. Holds 19 rounds in the tubular magazine, so it's a heap of fun, you know, for just blinking and just having fun in general. They do feel there's quite a centerfire feel to them when you put them up to your shoulder, which I like as well. They're really quite a nice firearm. Now look, mate, Cleavers still sell them. You know, they've got them there for like $1,349. So yeah, obviously they're still available. If you have a look at the Marlin website in the US though, they've only got it listed under their custom shop, so I don't know what's going on there. I'm really not sure. As for them being over the Remington control quality issues, look, a lot of people know about that and have had a lot of problems, but I'd imagine by now they're starting to get all that worked out. Especially if you're buying brand new, mate, you cover with a warranty. If it doesn't work or you've got problems with it, by all means take it back and get it fixed or, you know, refunded. Next question I got here is from Nathan. He says, "Hi Ozzie, as a family man, haven't got much cash to splash around at times and can't afford to buy new firearms. My question would be, what do I look out for when getting into the second-hand market? Cheers, Nathan." Well, mate, it's a real balance because there's so many entry-level firearms now that you can buy brand new, you know, for a decent quality price. You know, like you're looking at virtually every manufacturer has their version of an entry-level firearm. So what I'd have to do if I was in your position is I'd compare a second-hand firearm that I was looking at compared to how much difference there is in getting a new firearm. Okay, so for example, if you're looking at a 223 and then you know, for $600 odd you can get into a brand new one, where a second-hand one's like maybe about $450. Your question that you'd have to ask yourself, is it worth saving up that extra $150 to get a new rifle and obviously have it covered with a warranty and everything? In saying that too, mate, a lot of the second-hand rifles from different gun stores here in Australia will often offer a 3-month warranty. You know, so they do say, well, look, it is still a good product and we'll cover you for 3 months. So that's, you know, that's something. What to look for is obviously any signs of sort of damage and just excessive wear and tear. Okay, let's look at something very basic, a bolt action rifle, which is probably what you're going to be looking at. Now with the bolt action rifle, obviously remove the bolt. Okay, have a look at the bolt face, okay, see if there's any sort of damage there. What I'm talking about is, you know, excessive like corrosion, you know, is there any pitting? So in other words, like the craters on the moon, do you see any of that anywhere? Is it really been used and bashed around? Do you have scratches all over it? That sort of thing. How does the action feel? You know, when you cycle that action, is it fairly smooth? Or, you know, is there like a speed bump, or is there something in there that just doesn't feel right? Okay, these are just things that you would normally do when you pick up a firearm you're looking at to buy. Have a look through, obviously, the bore, okay? So take the bolt out, have a look up at the light and see if you can see any sort of pitting, you know, in that barrel. Obviously, if there's pitting in the rifling and that, well, there's a good chance it's not going to shoot accurately. Take the actual action and barrel, or get them at the gun shop to do it. Take the stock off, okay? Have a look under there to see if there's any excessive, you know, rust or damage there as well, okay? One thing that I like to do if I'm looking at a second-hand firearm, and I rarely do buy a second-hand firearm, but I do like to run snap caps through it. So if you're in the shop, ask them, say, look, can I run a couple of snap caps through this? They ask you what for, well, you say, well, I want to make sure that it ejects correctly, okay, and that there's no problems there. So obviously you can dry fire it, you know, you can run the snap caps through it, make sure it ejects, because the last thing you want is to get that firearm and then take it out to a range and then find out there's problems with ejection or feeding, you know, and that's why you want to be able to use those snap caps. Most stores shouldn't really have a problem with that, because they probably have snap caps lying around to function test different firearms that come in with warranty issues anyway. So that would be what I'd be looking out for, mate. And obviously, you know, if you are covered even by, say, a 1 or 2 or 3 month warranty on a second-hand firearm, and you take it out at the range, and no matter what ammunition you're using through it, say for example it's 223, and you can't shoot any better than like a 3 or 4 inch group at 100, obviously there's some problem there. So you want to have a warranty where you can then take that back and then get your money back, you know, or have it fixed or something like that. So that would be my advice to you, mate. Okay, next question here is from Fred, and he says, hi Ozzie, there are things that have been bothering me and hopefully you can clarify it for me. If you have a gun license, why when you apply for a security license do you need to go through a police check and vice versa? And why do you need, and why, if you need to work with children and have the above licenses, you also need to go through an additional police check? It doesn't make damn sense knowing that you can't get any of the above licenses if you have any black dots against your name. Mate, exactly. I agree with you 110% there, Fred. You know, it's just red tape, isn't it? I like to apply this to the whole permit to acquire and licensing system. You know, a lot of people gasp when I say, well, why even have a firearms license? Because at the end of the day, the system that I'd like to see in place is you walk into a firearms store, and if you wish to buy a firearm, a simple check is done real time, right on you, right there and then. I don't see the need for permit to acquires, because having a permit to acquire, in my view, just completely undermines the reason that you have a gun license in the first place. Because like you say, you go through a police check to obtain the gun license, but then what? You've then got to put in a permit to acquire and then go through another police check. I mean, if there was something that was wrong, like in that time that you got your gun license to when you put in for a permit to acquire, well, obviously the police would be on your front doorstep and saying, hey, give you your license over. There's domestic violence order on you now, or you've got mental health issues where you're threatening people, or whatever. You see what I mean? So I just look at that and I just find it just complete red tape. As I say, I just think that it should be a check when you go into a dealer, and that goes through to the police. They respond with yes or no. It's as simple as that, okay? And then you can purchase whatever firearm you want there. That's a system that I'd like to see in place. So, yeah, completely understand where you're coming from there, Fred. There's too much red tape. Okay, so the next question I got here is from Dale. He says, hey Ozzie, hope you and the family are doing well, mate. I'm in the market for a new 22LR somewhere in the budget range. I've been looking at the Ruger American Compact, the Savage B22 FVSR, or possibly even the new Savage A22R, a bit different I know. It will be used for a bit of plinking on the farm and hunting small game. It would be great to hear your thoughts with some pros and cons. Thanks, Dale. Mate, I've said it so many times, and you know, people are quite shocked, but the Ruger American you know, rimfire, I've still got my original one that I bought years ago. It's just the standard setup, so it's not the compact, but it's just been flawless. I've had no problems with it. I've really abused it because when I got it, we were on parity with the US dollar, so it was like $390. And honestly, it's probably one of the best firearms I've ever bought. I've never had a problem with it. I've had several of my friends who have just got their gun licenses and looking at purchasing their first 22. And I've lent them the rifle and they've absolutely loved it. And then they've come back and they've bought, you know, either a standard or a compact Ruger American rimfire. So, you know, I can't say enough good things about them because personally I've never had any problems with it. If you want to go into, you know, like something a little bit different, like the lever release Savage, mate, I haven't used it, so I can't quite comment on it at this stage, I'm afraid. But something that I've bought in the last couple of weeks is that brand new Volk-Hortzen PWS toggle action rifle in 22. Now, that's something that's obviously been bought for review, so that'll be out in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye on that one because, mate, just pulling that out of the box, the quality was really, really good on it, and the fit and the finish, just the mags, just everything on it is really, really nice, you know. Where some of the cheaper rifles, you put a mag into it and there's a little bit of movement and rattle, but with this thing, the tolerances are just so nice on it. So that's sort of, I guess, getting a little bit out of, you know, budget because, you know, they're about $1,500, but it's just something, you know, I'm just saying, mate, have a look at it anyway and make the right decision. But if you don't want to spend that much money and, you know, you do want to keep to the budget range, I really can't go past that Ruger American rimfire. Mine's just been absolutely flawless. Next question I got here is from Edward, and he says, hi Ozzie, can I use my Queensland Warwick WFA1 rifle in New South Wales? Cheers. No, definitely not, mate. I believe they're prohibited down there, so it doesn't matter if it's legal where you live. You cannot bring any of those illegal products, as they class it down there, or prohibited items into New South Wales. So just look at it, for example, like, you know, if you live in the USA, right, and AR-15s are completely legal where you are in the USA, because it's legal over there doesn't mean that it's legal here. So it's very much the same when you look at it around the states of Australia. What's legal in some areas, you can't bring into the other state because it is illegal, even though it's legal where you live. Crazy, I know. And, you know, so much for national gun laws, isn't it? You know, they just make their own rules with it. So, yeah, definitely do not do that. It's the same when you're traveling through New South Wales to go to Victoria. You know, for God's sake, please, guys, no one take anything prohibited in New South Wales, because if you get pulled over and you get caught with it, it's a whole heap of hurt when really you've done nothing wrong, you know, or your intentions are certainly not wrong. You know, it's something that you legally own. So just don't go anywhere into New South Wales with those prohibited products. Okay, so the next question I got here is from Cam, and he says, after watching your Adler A110 and Pardus LAX12 videos, I'm now looking at getting into trap shooting. As you know, these brands are cost-wise cheaper than Merino, Beretta and other under and over shotguns. Question is whether the Adler or Pardus lever action shotguns are suitable for trap shooting. Okay, definitely not, Cam. They're not suitable for that. They're a cheap Turkish shotgun, and basically a lot of people who get them will be using them you know, for like cowboy 12 gauge shooting matches, or you know, out there hunting. That's pretty much it. Okay, with trap shooting, there's a couple of things you need to keep in mind here. And look, I'm not a shotgun man by any means with regards to target shooting. You'll never find me at a range, you know, shooting targets with a shotgun. Okay, that's just not my background or experience with shotguns. However, I do still understand the basics. So with trap shooting, obviously the target is traveling away from you, and the idea is to be able to hit it as that target is rising. So what you'll find is most trap shotguns will be configured to shoot slightly higher, okay? So obviously when you're aiming, the shot can go slightly higher and you can connect with that target. Now, trap shotguns as well are usually quite heavy, okay? So that's going to soak up a fair bit of the recoil for you as well. And you really need a specific trap shotgun if you want to do, you know, trap shooting, okay? As for brands, Maruka would probably be my choice, because if you want to keep it to the budget, you know, obviously which you're leaning towards by what you've asked here, I would be really looking at like the Maruka MK38 trap shotgun. Now you're going to pay just under $2,000 for it, but I mean compared to a trap shotgun from Beretta, you know, it's going to be substantially cheaper, and it's still going to allow you to be able to get into it and enjoy the sport of it. So that would, you know, really be my choice there, mate, because at the end of the day, you need an under and over, because normally what will happen is with trap shooting, you know, they'll use like the lower barrel will be like a improved modified choke, and the top barrel will be a full choke. So that's usually the setup that trap shooters use. So that's why, you know, a lever action shotgun will definitely not be suitable for that purpose. Okay, so the next question I got here is from Shane. He says, hi Ozzie, I live down in Nelson, Victoria, and mainly target foxes with my 243 and 223. I'm thinking about going up around Tamworth shooting deer with my brother. What's your thoughts between the 7mm and 300 Win Mag? So mate, I'm guessing you're meaning 7mm Remington Magnum here, definitely not 7mm 08. Look, 7mm Remington Magnum and 300 Win Magnum are both real heavy hitters. And honestly, you will not notice any difference in the results on deer, you know, with both of those calibers. You know, you use a good hunting cartridge and also the correct shot placement. I don't care whether the deer's at 100 yards or 300 yards, both of those calibers are just going to drop it instantly. So, yeah, very good calibers, but you'd have to just have a look at the availability of ammunition and the cost of ammunition of 7mm Remington Magnum over 300 Win Mag here in Australia. I think you'll probably find a lot more 300 Win Mag ammo on the shelf than you will 7mm Remington Magnum. Now the last question here, Rosalind says, hi Ozzie, I'm thinking of purchasing a Ruger American Ranch in 300 Blackout. Wondering your thoughts on the caliber and where it will go in the future. What game would you target with the caliber? And would this be a good target hunting gun, or should I stick with 223 for ease of availability and cost of ammunition? Well, look, good question there, because you know, 223 is definitely a lot cheaper. You're going to get target ammunition, you know, for 223 as well, so you can do basically a dual role. Now the 300 Blackout is very interesting. Obviously, why it was designed is to be suppressed in AR-15s. That's why a lot of military units you know, use the caliber, because it has a specific purpose. But jumping over into the hunting and the sports target shooting world, you know, for the civilian side of things, definitely an interesting caliber. I've owned one. I find the ballistics on it very similar to the 7.62 by 39, which is, you know, the AK-47 or SKS, SKK round. Very, very similar. So, you know, you can take at hunting distances, you know, like that sort of 75 to 125 yards. You can easily take pigs with it, no problem at all. You can drop deer with it as well with the correct ammunition and shot placement. So it's a very versatile caliber. One thing as well is the ballistic coefficient on their subsonic rounds are extremely high in 300 Blackout. So if you look at the Hornby 208 grain AMAX, now it has a ballistic coefficient of 0.648, which is just phenomenal. Like, that is really high. If you don't understand ballistic coefficient, very short and simple. It's basically the aerodynamics of that projectile as it travels to the target. So obviously the higher the BC, it'll maintain its speed for greater distances, and it'll also buffer the wind a lot better than something with a lower ballistic coefficient. So obviously a lower ballistic coefficient projectile will lose its speed very quickly, and also it just won't be able to buffer the wind as good as a high BC round. So that's why with target rounds you see a high BC. So I'm not sure if you know that, but I thought I'd add that in. So looking at that Hornady in the 300 Blackout there with you know, 208 grain AMAX. I mean, that would be perfect for doing your target shooting. So as for distance with that, I really couldn't see you shooting much over, you know, 200 yards realistically with it. I mean, it'll probably do it, but I've never done that myself. But the ballistic coefficient on it is very, very high. So I think it would be perfect for, you know, target shooting. Really, at the end of the day, Rosalind, it comes down to whether you want to spend the money on that extra ammo cost over 223. So really, it's ultimately up to you. Okay, so that concludes this month's Q&A series, guys. Thanks very much for the questions. I really appreciate when you submit them. As I say, guys, I can't answer the general public's questions because even to this day, even though I've posted about it, I still get questions daily and multiple questions, and I can't possibly answer them all. So please, if you do want to ask questions, guys, and you want me to, you know, address it in the Q&A series, by all means, jump onto Patreon, which you can support me from as little as just a single $1 a month. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this month's Q&A, so we'll catch you on the next month's issue.